Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how you can easily fix these hose wands, these cheap ones that people complain they leak all the time. Show you how to fix that, as well as a fix for a leaking hose end when the coupler is broken that actually works and doesn't leak in a couple of months. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. First things first, the most common problem is when you're replacing these couplers. You know how they start leaking after a little bit, and half the reason is because the crappy, what do they call these things now? Hose clamps they provide them with are really terrible. I'll overlay an image for you to see. You'll see that the nut isn't fully formed on a lot of them, and the band is much narrower, so it's not able to clamp it as well. And a little trick, so they can loosen up and spin and yet still seal, is to use some O-rings. I got these at Harbor Freight. They're crap for use in normal applications for you'd use an O-ring for because they're sized wrong. But for oddball stuff like this, it works great. All you do is you find the one that fits right, slide it, that fits tightly, and slide it over, fit it into the groove. When you cut off the old coupler, use either a really big pair of shears, which I'm assuming most people don't have, just like me. You can use a box cutter or a recently sharpened kitchen knife. Try to get your cut as square as possible. In this case, it isn't quite square enough, so you can just trim it using a sawing motion. Yours is a rubber hose. It might not be as difficult to cut, but some of these vinyl ones can be quite tough to cut. You slide this on first. Hard part is getting hose over without sliding the O-ring off. This one just came off, so it's probably stretched out. Once you get the O-ring on, if it's difficult to slide this on because it keeps on pushing up the O-ring, that's good. Take a screwdriver and work it up and under. This will take a few minutes, but once you get it in, you don't have to worry about this leaking too much anymore. Do try not to damage the O-ring too much. Once you get it over the edge of the hose, put pressure on here, try to pack it in, and slide it back into that groove. Make sure it stays in the groove as you slide the hose up. Now this is where you need a wrench to attach these. If you don't get these tight enough to the max torque or yield point, you won't get enough compression. And because these hose ends, when you attach them to hose wands and stuff, tend to get a lot more torsion forces, they can end up breaking the seal. Which is why I really hate those crappy compression couplings they put on the ends of new hoses at the factory. They're really susceptible to this twisting force. Now you have a connection that will never leak. Even if after a while it will start spinning like everything else, but because of that O-ring, it's now been crushed into the hose itself, it won't ever leak. Alright, now onto these shower wands. A lot of people have trouble with this leaking. All you do is tighten this down. The factory rarely tightens it down enough. Probably need a power screwdriver and push in hard, and, high torque. Seals in these are hard and crappy, so that's why you need to really torque this screw down here. A lot of people have it leak out of here. Replace that crappy vinyl one with the rubber ones. You probably won't find them in the garden section. If you don't find them there, look in the plumbing section, particularly next to the washing machine hoses. The vinyl ones they're just crap. Even though this is garden hose thread and not, it's garden hose thread GHT rather than NPT, National Pipe Thread, which is a tapered thread. Using some pipe thread sealant, that's not the tape, because you don't want this to move. Coating threads on this piece here, it's not something you're going to be removing, so that's why you can use this pipe dope rather than pipe tape. So, much more ideal. Take the washer before you put this on so you don't get it kind of crooked and crushed and have to redo it. Don't get this stuff on your hand. It really doesn't like to come off of anything. Get on your clothes, it's never coming off. Alright. Now a lot of people have problems with the connection here leaking and coming off. The trick I use is just using some plumbing tape. It's not sealing on the threads. The way it works is that it makes it a lot easier without having to use a wrench to tighten up and compress that washer they have in it. A neat other benefit to using it is that it doesn't, you know, like when you have a connection that's been together for many, many years and it's corroded. Yeah, it prevents it from getting seized. That's the word I'm looking for. I like to use that on the faucets since ancient plumbing doesn't like to be strained, twisted off to the side. If you have really bad threads, this can sometimes also help. I mean, you'd have to apply that tape really thick, but you can also create a double seal like that as well if you're having trouble. The extra benefit of not having to apply a lot of force is that a lot of people, when they grab the connection, they grab by the hose rather than the fitting, and that can damage the connection between the fitting and the hose.